Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, wherever you're logging in from. Thanks a bunch for joining us today. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into our new awards feature in Govly, which lets you dive into historical federal spending data so you can find out what agencies have been issuing what contracts, for how much, and with whom. Really critical intel for identifying potential sales targets. And while folks are joining, I have an icebreaker for everyone, which is also a shameless product research plug. Let me know if you could make one thing easier in your public sector sales process, what would it be?
Should I type my answer into the chat, Rachel?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Blake. There should be a chat in the bottom right-hand corner of your view. We're going to be using just the chat feature today, not the questions one. So if you have anything that you want to share with us throughout this webinar, feel free to put it right in there. And we'll give folks just a few more minutes to trickle in. For those who may have just joined, this is our deep dive on our new awards feature in Govly. And as an icebreaker and to kind of get things flowing, we have a question. If you could make one thing easier in your public sector sales process, what would it be? Feel free to let us know in the chat. Subcontract awards. Thanks, Dylan. Finding and filtering subcontract awards. Meaning the after the awards that SIs or someone who may have received an award from the government make to try and get subcontractors onto the work. Okay, great. Thanks for letting us know. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep it moving. Thanks for sharing your feedback with us, Dylan. I'm going to go through our agenda for today real quick so you know what's coming. I'm going to start with some intros about the three of us who are on the screen right now, your hosts, and some housekeeping. Then for those of you who may be new to Govly, I'm going to do a quick overview of how the Govly platform works. Then thirdly, we'll get into awards. That's what everyone's here for today. We'll do a deep dive into how that new functionality works. And then I have a sneak peek for you of what's coming up next in Govly. And lastly, we'll tie everything up with some Q&A. As I mentioned before, if you have any questions or feedback for us as we're going through this webinar, please use the chat feature that you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Blake and Ryan will be queuing up any questions that you may have so we can make sure and tackle them at the end. All right, so welcome. We're going to start with some intros. My name's Rachel Ruche. I'm head of product here at Govly, and I'm going to be doing today's demo. I have spent the last 7 or so years in the federal government, both on the contractor side and as a Fed. So I've seen really how tough procurement can be from both sides. And I couldn't be more excited to be here with Govly, breaking down barriers, making it easier for companies to engage in public sector sales. We've got a stellar product. I'm really excited to give you a tour of what's new today and keep learning from y'all. Over to you, Ryan.
All right. Hello. My name is Ryan Leahy. I am the Customer Success Manager here at Govly. I'm sure I've met with a lot of you, or at least spoken with you over email or intercom or one of the different chat boxes that we have. I've been with Govly for about 1.5 years. It's been great to see the growth of our product, and I hope you guys all enjoy this webinar, and thank you for joining.
Hey, I'm Blake. I look after marketing things here at Govly, and I will be behind the scenes in the chat. So if you have questions or technical difficulties during this, I'll be watching the chat. Feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is there on the screen too. But yeah, thanks for being here, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Blake. And now for a little housekeeping before we dive in. As I mentioned before, leave any questions that you have in the chat on your screen. We'll get through as many as we can in the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. And just a reminder, everyone who registered for today's event will get a recording in their inbox afterward. And just to specifically call out, I know there's both a questions option and a chat option that you might see on your screen. Make sure to use the chat for any questions or feedback that you have. Okay, So a 5-minute overview for those of you who are new to Govly on how the platform works at a high level. For those of you who have been working in Govly, regularly for years, thanks for bearing with this quick overview. So there are really 3 core ways that Govly helps you optimize your sales. 1, figure out who your research targets are. 2, network. And 3, find opportunities. So in this research mode, that's really what the awards feature is that we're going to look at later today. So for this Govly overview, I'm just going to focus quickly on how to develop your network and find opportunities in Govly. So that way, by the end of today, you'll have a good sense of how all of that comes together. So I'm actually going to bring you into the Govly product for this and talk about that second leg of the stool, networking. So in Govly, you can actually, this is what Govly looks like at a high level. We have all of our left nav here. You can actually find contacts that you may be interested in engaging with in our contacts area. And you can also find holders of private vehicles that you may want to connect with so that you can start getting that private vehicle information into your Govly experience too. So this is what I mean when I say networking. You can develop the types of partnerships that you need and find the types of contacts that you might need in Govly. Now that third side of the stool, finding opportunities to bid on, that is really where the magic of Govly all started. So to show you what that is, that's really housed in our opportunities feature, which is the landing page of the Govly app when you log in. And really, there's no better product on the market for being able to find government solicitations that match your business. You can use the filters on the left to try and find the opportunities that are meaningful for you, as well as the search terms here. And I'm actually going to show you kind of what our special secret sauce is. So there are a lot of different companies out there that have sam.gov opportunities that they'll pipe in for you to be able to search from. The special thing about Govly is that we house contracts across the private vehicles as well. So if you're a contract holder or if you've partnered with a contract holder through Govly, you can find contracts across all of those different vehicles right here. So you can, type in anything you might be interested in, like augmented reality, for example, find all of these different matching solicitations, dive in to get more detail. So that's really kind of the core of Govly in a nutshell. You can search federal and state and local solicitations in this way. You can do analytics on them. Like I mentioned before, you can find appropriate contacts. You can use Worklist to collaborate with folks on the opportunities that are of interest to you. And hopefully that if you weren't familiar with Govly before, that kind of gives you a sense with overall what the platform is all about. All right, so let's get into now what everyone is really here for today, awards. We asked you and researched over the last couple of months what you needed to optimize your sales strategy, and here are some of the things that we heard. We heard that folks want to learn which federal agencies are purchasing from your competitors so that you know how and where to get your name in the door. You want to know what resellers are trending for different products so you can align partnerships strategically. And you want to figure out why you may have lost a past contract so you can figure out how to prevent that kind of loss again in the future. So let's jump right into the awards feature in Govly, and I'm going to show you how you can answer all of those questions with our new product. All right, so awards is located in the left nav here under opportunities. And it is in beta right now, which means that we launched this recently. We are actively soliciting feedback to improve this feature. So if you have any feedback today as you watch the demo, feel free to put it in the chat. And anytime that you're in Govly, you can always also use this little smiley face guy on the right and send us a message with any questions or feedback that you have so that we can continue making things even more awesome. All right, so how does awards work? If you've been using Govly for a while, it'll hopefully look pretty familiar to you because it's set up in a similar way to opportunities. On the left, you have all of your different filters that you can use to kind of narrow down what kind of search results you want to find. And then you also have this search terms box where you can use these different and or statements to really put together the set of keywords that make sense for you to find what you're interested in. So let's take that first example that I mentioned, learning which federal agencies are purchasing from your competitors. let's say that VxRail is a competing product of mine, and I'm curious just to get some intel on what's been happening with VxRail in the federal space. So if I type in that keyword here, you can see already I'm seeing 186 different results that match that search term. So that means there are 186 different awards that have gone out over the past 4 years for VxRail. And I can kind of scroll through here and get a sense for what the different individual awards are. But where this gets really interesting is if I click over to analytics, and I can actually see trends over time. So for all of these VxRail awards, it looks like there was a spike in 2020, another smaller spike in 2022, and then a big spike in 23. And my original question was, which federal agencies are purchasing from my competitors? So if this is my competitor and I want to see which federal agencies have been purchasing this product, I can actually look at different views of this awards over time chart. So if we go by federal agency, now I'm starting to get really into that juicy information of like, oh, interesting. Treasury bought $9 million worth of VxRail back in 2020, but not really much activity since. Whereas Department of State has been consistently buying that product over the years. There's been a big spike at DoD. Looks like VA bought a little bit back in 2021, and then another purchase in 2023. So this is all interesting information. I'm getting a sense for what agency activity has been around VxRail over the last few years. Now, if I want to dive deeper, let's say, okay, I'm curious about this. It looks like maybe VA is buying some VxRail, but maybe there's an opportunity for me to get my foot in the door there because I don't see any activity since January of last year. Now I'm going to actually start using these filters on the left to get my search results narrower and narrower so I can do some interesting analysis. Let's set the awarding agency to VA, since that's where I want to dive deeper. And I'm actually going to come back to the results tab, and I can look at this information in table view. So I see these are the 2 awards that VA put out for VxRail over the last 4 years. And this is really the one that I'm interested in diving into. A $2.5 million potential award amount, so far $1 million obligated. Let's get some more detail on that contract. So I just clicked on the award or the contract. Now here I can see it's from VA, it went to Architecture Solutions LLC. I know that there are about 2 months remaining on this contract, and only about 400,000 of the total 2.4 million potential have been outlaid yet to the recipient. So that's kind of an interesting nugget of information to take into potential conversations that you might want to set up with VA. You have all the agency details here. So the awarding agency, sub-agency, you even have their technology office information. So you can really pinpoint where you want to start, developing partnerships and relationships. You have all the recipient details here. And then on the right-hand side, just kind of different ways to lay out the information and some competition deets. So here you can see that it was full and open competition after exclusion of sources. So all just good intel for you to have in your back pocket as you try and set up your sales targets and figure out who you want to talk to and about what. All right, let's take the second question that I mentioned, which is what resellers are trending for different products and how can you align those strategic partnerships? And just a reminder, if you have any questions as I'm going, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat because we do have time at the end and Blake and Ryan will help pull together the questions that we got so we can get through as many as possible. Okay, so let's look at what resellers are trending for different products so that you can figure out how to align partnerships effectively. So let's say now I'm interested not only in VxRail. I'm just going to go ahead and start over here, move to the analytics tab. Let's say I want to look across VxRail, VMware, and Nutanix. And I have a little typo there. I need to make these 4 statements. So I want to find any awards that are for VxRail, VMware, or Nutanix, and I want to find out what resellers are selling these products. So in the same awards over time chart, I can now instead select the recipient view. And here's where I can see, okay, so Dell Marketing is doing a lot of this directly. There's a lot also going through Carahsoft, and recently there's been some that have gone through Thundercat as well. So great intel. And now to be able to slice and dice and see more what resellers are selling to what agencies so that you can really target your strategy effectively. Let's go back to results, and I'm going to pull up this table view again. So when you first log in, results will look like this. We call it the card view. You can toggle back and forth between card view, so you're looking at individual award results in this format, or you can look at the table view that kind of puts them all together in this table format. And what's cool about table view is I can sort by different columns. So let's say, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at all of the VxRail, VMware, and Nutanix sales recently, and I want to sort by the obligated award amount so that I'm looking at the highest value deals at the top, because maybe those are most interesting to me. And so here at a glance, I can see, okay, it looks like Army has been buying directly through Dell a couple of times. VA has been buying through V3Gate and Alvarez. Department of State has been buying through Carahsoft. So here you can start to get the information to pull together your strategy. I'll pause and let folks type up any questions that you have, and get ready to move on to that third vector, that third question, figuring out who won a contract that I wanted to get in the past, but maybe didn't win, so I can prevent that loss again. Well, in this case, let's say, I'm going to go ahead and refresh and start over. In this case, I am, for this example, let's say I had been working really hard to sell my hyperconverged product to NIH, but I didn't win the bid. I'm really curious what happened there. What's going on with that contract now? Well, let's go ahead and type in hyperconverged here. And now I can use these filters on the left to go by sub-agency and search for NIH, because I know NIH is a part of HHS. So HHS would be the parent agency. I'm going to type in National Institutes of Health here. There we go. And it looks like there are 6 different results for hyperconverged awards that NIH issued over the last 4 years. I'm going to go back to that table view that I like and take a look at them in this format. And right away, I can see, okay, this is the one that I'm interested in. That one that had the potential award amount of $5 million. The action date was 2023. That seems like the award I'm looking for. So now, similar to that past award I showed you, you can click right into it and get all the details. So now I know I lost this award, but it went to New Tech Solutions, and it was for VxRail. So that gives you kind of the key information that you need to start figuring out how to position for next time. You can also see there are 5 months remaining on this, 800,000 of the 5 million potential outlaid so far. And again, all that good detail, the agency details, you know what awarding office it came from, NHLBI, you know the recipient information and the competition information. So from here, you can start, again, building out your strategy. And that is awards in a nutshell. That's the key pieces of functionality I wanted to show you. Like I mentioned before, it is in beta. So hop into Govly, play around with this feature, and let us know what you think. We are actively soliciting feedback on this tool so that we can iterate to make it even more awesome. And the best way for us to do that is to get direct feedback from y'all. So please let us know how it's working for you. And I have one more thing that I want to talk about before getting into questions, but still go ahead and tee up any questions or comments that you have in the chat so we can get to them here in just a few minutes. The last thing that I wanted to go over with y'all before Q&A is just giving you a sneak peek of what's next at Govly. So we have budgets coming out soon, which is going to add another element of information to that research component of Govly. So whereas awards lets you dive into that historical spending data, budgets is going to help you figure out what federal agencies are requesting money for in the future. So should help you develop talking points, key messages, et cetera, that align with what agencies are prioritizing in their budget requests. We also are working on chart interactions, so seamlessly diving into that table data from the charts that we looked at in awards. So this is actually a great example of how we are actively and rapidly iterating on this product that we just released a couple weeks ago. We got some pretty early feedback from folks that they want to be able to dive into the table view information directly from the charts. So you see an interesting data point on the chart, you want to be able to click there and immediately be able to see the list of contracts that comprise that data point. We're working on that. So we should have that coming out in the next couple of weeks. And then the next thing on this list is AI assisted search. So today, like I showed you in the very beginning, and like some of you know, and having used Govly over the years, you can search opportunity titles and attachments that are exact matches for the specific keywords. That's actually one of our unique differentiators, is that searching for opportunities in Govly, a lot of places will just search the title information to try and find your matches. We search through the actual attached RFQ docs that have, the descriptions and everything. So we can find a lot more matches in that way. So we're enhancing that even further to offer you an AI assisted option, so that instead of looking for those exact keyword matches, you'll be able to start using AI assisted search to find semantic matches that match the meaning of your desired search terms. And then lastly, FOIA requests. We know how important it is for you all to be able to request information from the federal government, SOWs, stuff like that, that may not be immediately publicly available. And we know how important it is for those requests to be anonymous so you can maintain your competitive edge. So soon you'll be able to make those requests through Govly. So Govly will do them on your behalf. You can remain anonymous and still get the information you need. So if you have any thoughts on these upcoming features, we would love to hear from you, because we're actively doing user research to figure out how we can shape these things to best meet your needs. So drop me a note. I'll make sure that everyone has my email after this webinar. Drop me a note. I would be happy to meet anytime for 30 to 45-minute chats to get your take. Okay, that's what's coming up next. So now that brings us to our Q&A session. That's a wrap on everything that I've had pulled together to show you. So time to take a look and see if there are any questions. Blake and Ryan, do we have anything that came out of the woodwork?
No questions right now, but maybe we can just give folks a minute to type one in if they have anything, and questions, comments on awards, or anything on the roadmap Rachel shared would be great. If not, we can give folks back time, but maybe I'll ask you guys a question while we give folks a minute to type in questions. Rachel and Ryan, as we've started sharing awards with customers, are there any unique or surprising use cases or questions that have come up now that we've got some users with this in their hands?
Yeah, I think the thing that has come up in conversations that I've had with folks about awards so far is, let me see if I can bring us back over here, is really being able to analyze the competition. So, I use the term VX-Rail here and trying to find, I have it really dialed into National Institutes of Health, so I'm going to remove that one. We have found that folks love typing in the names of competitors and just exploring these different charts to get a sense for what's going on with their competition. So, you could type in anything here. You could type in Adobe and see what's been going on with them, who's buying them. In this chart, you can see top agencies. You can also search by recipient. So in addition to being able to see the trends over time, being able to compare that also to totals. So in aggregate over the last 4 years, what are the top recipients who have been awarded Adobe contracts, and what are the top agencies that have issued awards for Adobe contracts? So that competitive research I have found to come up in almost every conversation that I've had with folks.
Awesome. Great context. We do have one question from Nick. Asks, is there POC info for contract officers in the awards data?
Great question, and thanks for giving me that idea for another enhancement that we can add. Let me show you how to get to that today. Share this tab. Okay, so let's say there is a contract that you're specifically interested in. What I would recommend doing today is going down to the agency details here. So it looks like this is Social Security Administration, specifically acquisition grants, and then popping that information into the contact search. Actually, you should be able to search by email domain. So I think SSA might be ssa.gov. Let's just try this instead. And this is where we'll have a bunch of different contact information, both for KOs as well, contract officers, as well as for, you can sometimes find end users here as well. So the example that we often give is something like this. End user singular. And then you can get some information that way. So that is a workaround for how to get from the detail in awards to interesting contact information. But that is something that we would love to incorporate as a future enhancement, figuring out how to tie that together more seamlessly. Thanks for the question and for the feedback. Or the product idea.
Looks like we might have one more. We'll see if this is a question or comment. No, doesn't look like we have any more questions, but I'm sure, Rachel, you'll share how folks can follow up with us if they want to send in questions after the fact, or if they're catching the recording and want to send us a question.
Yep, perfect. As always, when you are in the Govly product, you can use this icon in the bottom right-hand corner to send us messages anytime with feedback or questions. Those actually go directly to Ryan, who's here on the call with us today, on the webinar with us. So if you ever want to, have a quick and easy way to get in touch, that is your best bet. I will also share my email with folks once we wrap up this webinar. And if you ever have feedback about how the product is working for you, feedback about what you'd like us to build next, I'm always looking for that type of information. So don't hesitate to reach out. I try and do 30 to 45 minute research sessions with folks every week. So always looking for more people to chat with. All right, and that wraps up today's deep dive webinar into Govly's new awards feature. Like I mentioned before, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any feedback on your experience in Govly. We are always seeking information on how we can make our product even more awesome for you. So thanks a lot for joining, and have a great day.
Thanks all.
Bye, everyone.